We have so many YouTubers leaving the platform. It's a very interesting time in the content creator space, but I think it's actually a really great time to consider becoming a YouTuber and considering becoming a content creator in general. And I think the biggest issue is that people have created things that are unsustainable for them. And that is why we are now seeing so many creators say that they are stepping away after doing this for so long. And I think now that that conversation is open and we've started to see it happen, we'll probably start to see it happen a lot more. But in today's video, I just want to share my thoughts on why I think it is that people are quitting and why I think actually right now is an amazing time to start making content. For brief context on me, my name is Chris Jordan. I have been on YouTube and made videos ever since I was a kid, since I was like 10. First channel was in like 2007. I don't know how old I was then. I was just a kid. Made stupid videos all throughout middle school. Made videos in high school. Have gone through different paths of all types of content, but I've been around. I've paid attention. I've been to YouTube conferences. Just met with YouTubers, and I spent a couple years working behind top interview YouTube shows, top podcast. And so I have not only a love for creating videos in this platform, and have for honestly like more than half of my life, but I've also professionally worked behind creator businesses. And so I think that that allows me to speak to this with some, a little bit of a different insight and perspective on it. And so in general, why are people leaving the platform? What it seems like is that a lot of people just feel like they're burnt out on it, that this can't keep going forever, and that, it's just time to stop. It's time to quit. And I think why this has started to happen is that, a lot of people will build up an audience where then it becomes their full-time job and their businesses become dependent on them. And that is a lot of pressure. If your business is all based on you showing up on camera and making content, that can be dangerous because it's constant stress or, things to think about. Obviously, there can be an incredible upside, if you're thinking about it properly and conditioned to, be smart about it. Like, obviously, being a YouTuber was not even a job more like a decade ago. And now, I think there's most kids want to grow up and be YouTubers. So, there is huge upside to it. But we're also in the wild west of it. Like, this is the first time where we're really seeing a lot of people start to just like announce that they're done making videos, and a lot all at the same time, which is really, really interesting. So I think for me, what happens is that they build their audience, and then the business really becomes dependent on them showing up and being a creator. And then what happens is like, well, they want to scale their teams and they want to bring people in to help them. And then all of a sudden, now they're not only dependent to bring in, the money for them, but now they have to bring in the money for a bunch of their team members. And they, again, though, are the face of it. They are responsible to show up on camera and make content. And that can be fun for a lot of other, like for people, but, it can be fun in the moment. But if you look at like 10 years out and you're like, dang, can this work for 10 years? Like, we don't fully know. There's only a couple people who have like really been able to do that. I mean, I think some of the best examples of it definitely are like, Good Mythical Morning. Like, they've done a great job of being around and over the long term, but it's also like a hard thing to do. Like, can I show up every day for 10 plus years and, be the person that is people are depending on to make all the money for this business that we're now employees of? Like, that can be a lot of stress, and I totally get that. And so what ends up happening, I think, for some of these creators is that they end up building like businesses versus like building up their audiences, and suddenly they kind of like stray away from like why they would have started doing this stuff in the first place, because they thought it'd be fun and wanted to share things and connect with people. And now it's just like a full, flow like business, because when things are growing, you assume you want to keep growing and all of this stuff. And then they end up kind of burning out. And to me, it makes a lot of sense why that can happen. Like, I'm not grown a channel. I've been on YouTube for over a decade, but I haven't been like consistently growing a single channel for that long. So I don't fully like I can imagine that amount of pressure and that amount of stress that can bring. Along, like, it has a lot of upside. There's a lot of people who are very successful with it, but that doesn't take away from the fact that, like, it can be mentally taxing. And so I think that's why a lot of people are quitting, because, like, they got started for one reason, and over the years they end up in a totally different position that they might have not even been fully aware of happening, because it was just in the day to day, slowly over time, where suddenly it's like, oh, I'm no longer like making videos because like they're fun or I want to, but I feel like I have to. And I have all these people relying on me, so I have to show up and do this. And then you just burn out with it. So that's why people are quitting. I think another thing I've heard people say that I think is really interesting is that creators can be like the new versions of athletes, where they will like kind of have their prime and then they will retire and then move on to other things. I think that perspective will be really interesting to see that play out more over like the next decade, where we'll really be, I think, seeing a lot more examples of this. Because I think what's also true, and what we'll have to pay attention to, is how many people say that they're done, but then they do come back. Look at bands that break up and then they eventually come back a couple years later. And like most people, it's like maybe like what they really need is just a break. It's just a long break. But it'll be interesting because maybe some of them will hold to it and we'll never see them on the platform again. And I mean, there has been YouTubers that have been really big that have come and gone, but less that have just like really announced it like this, which is really interesting. But the point I really want to make today is why I think it's an amazing time to start making YouTube videos, because I've seen a lot of people be nervous about like, well, is it worth getting into it anymore? Like all these people are quitting and leaving. So like, should I invest like time into it? And I think absolutely. If you look at this channel, this is a brand new channel that I'm actually exploring myself and doing right now. There's just commentaries on things about the creator space and creativity and things that I'm seeing online that I want to speak on. And I'm really excited about this channel because of some constraints I've set for myself, some rules I've established. And I think that, the biggest thing, if you want to be a creator today, is that you can avoid the mistake that it seems like most of these YouTubers have made, where they've accidentally built a business that is extremely dependent on their content and their audience, and instead just say to yourself, like, if I'm going to make content, I am going to make it on my own terms. I am going to commit to what I want to do, not what I assume I need to do, not what I feel like I have to do, but what I want to do and when I want to do it. Because that in general is where people typically are going to end up making their most relatable content, their best content, and the stuff that excites them is going to excite other people, because you can feel that in the energy. And so I think like that's the biggest distinction that people can make, is that you can create on your own terms. The issue is that there's a lot of best practices out there, a lot of strategies, a lot of people saying a lot of different things, like you need to post every day, you need to post once a week, you need to post consistently. They are foundational pieces of advice for a reason, because there is, if you create consistently and kind of give yourself a schedule, maybe that keeps you accountable, right? But what happens is some people do that for accountability, but then it starts to feel like a job and it feels like I have to do this. And it's scary to like let go of it. But I would say if you're someone who's like, I know I could create consistently, but I don't want to do it like every week on a certain schedule, cool. That is okay. Because I think another distinction that I want to make, and I want creators to embrace, is I don't think people care as much about consistency. I think people care about you giving them something that they want to consume, that they want to watch, they want to read, they want to be a part of. Those are the things that people are showing up to watch. I don't care if someone posts something every single day because they need to post every single day. It's like, no, I'm probably not going to watch all of that. You're probably not going to watch all of that. But instead, it's like, I want, when they feel like they have something to say or they want to share something, whether it's every day or it is every month or it is once a year, cool. I'm ready for that, because if they're that passionate to share it, then I want to check it out. And I will most likely be way more interested in, what they've spent all that energy on creating. So I think that that's the issue, is that people get into these assumptions about, well, this person says I need to post this much and do this much and all of that. It can be helpful until it's harmful to how you want to be a creator. And if you can be clear in that and realize the difference between, okay, am I taking this advice of posting once a week for, holding me accountable, versus like, am I making stuff once a week because I feel like I have to and I'm not really as excited about it right now and I wish I could just make them, whenever I want. Like, if that's what you're feeling, it's like, then make them whenever you want. And I promise you, the right people will show up and the right people will find that content over the long term. And you will be happier because you're no longer creating stuff when you feel like you have to, versus like when you want to. And so I think like that's the biggest thing, is people as creators in this space, we've created all these rules, which again, it's all the Wild West. Like, we're all figuring this out. The advice on a video of what to do on YouTube changes pretty much every single month, and it's always slightly different advice because things are changing. But in general, there's also plenty of examples like of people like, I'm following all the best practices, and they don't grow to that where they hope to be. But there's also examples of people that don't really follow any of the best practices, and they are very successful with their YouTube channels. So with that, it's sort of like, but the people that don't follow the rules and they are still able to find success within YouTube is typically because like it just seems like they're kind of like, I'm going to create what I want when I want. And people are really able to resonate with that because they can feel the energy in the video of like, okay, like this just feels like I'm watching someone be very authentic and show up and share this story and all of this stuff, versus like clicking on a video and be like, oh, I feel like this person might have made this video because like they had to stick to their schedule, and it's just like, I don't know, something feels off. Like, I feel like audiences aren't dumb. Audiences can feel that. And so as I've made that distinction in my own creative journey, as I've started this channel and I've got some other shows on the platform, it's been really freeing for me because, yeah, sticking to certain things all the time because it's the best practice, it can be really overwhelming. And what I've found is by just kind of embracing this, like, sometimes a schedule for accountability, but in general, just sort of like, maybe I'm publishing once a week, but maybe it's not every Wednesday. Maybe it's just like at least once a week. But my energy is better with it, then the content's better, and nobody's complained, that much, really. Like, nobody has complained at all yet. But in general, I don't see anybody would be, wanting to complain because they can tell through the content, like, okay, Chris is like showing up and he's excited about this. And so do not build a prison around yourself with your brand. We make content and create stuff to share it with people, to connect with people, to, yes, there's leveraged opportunities you can build. There is definitely a lot of upside monetarily and just with, being known in the space for different things. But in general, we get in this to connect with people. And so do not lose sight of why you felt called to make videos and why you wanted to start. Because if you can hold on to that, it is going to change everything about how you approach being a YouTuber and being a creator. And so I think that what I expect is a lot of these people who are leaving will come back at some point, but with this new approach. And I think people are just going to be happy to see them show up, and it will show them like, hey, you didn't need to, create this sort of prison around yourself the whole time, because people just want you for you when you show up and when you want to create, and that can be okay. Maybe the views are a little bit less to an extent. Maybe some things don't go as viral. However, maybe you've really just tapped into the right audience versus the biggest audience. And that is something that is a very big mindset shift for me, is like focusing on making the stuff that I feel called to. The right audience will find it. I'll connect with them. So if you're watching this, more of the right audience versus I don't care if this video goes viral. That's not my concern, because that's just a very different game to play that I just am not interested in. So that's my perspective on why YouTubers are quitting, but also why I think it's a great time to embrace creating and why I'm excited about it. And I'm just very curious to see how this year plays out. Hopefully people can come to this realization, just create more freedom for themselves and new rules that are not as taxing on them. I mean, if you're in that space right now where you feel like kind of stressed out about creating and like if you should continue and all this, I just encourage you to reevaluate your approach to it and get back to why you started, which is creating stuff, connecting with people, and enjoying it, because it's an incredible opportunity we have to connect online like this. And so I don't take that for granted. So let me know what you guys think. If there's any other, thoughts around this, just definitely want to get on here and share my thoughts. But again, my name is Chris Jordan. This channel is for me to just explore thoughts on content creation, creator economy, creativity, just a lot of different things right now, just figuring it out, creating stuff whenever I want to, and just kind of having fun. That's my intention. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.